Hello everybody and welcome today. So this video is a very important video and I recommend that anybody who watches this video give it a like, subscribe to this channel, and please share this video. The reason why is because right now YouTube is making it hard for people to share their videos, people who are not part of the YouTube mainstream or are saying a narrative that YouTube does not agree with, as we all know how things are today. And it's very important for these videos to be shared for people to see exactly what's going on. People of all backgrounds be able to see what's going on. This is not just one-sided or about one culture, one person's point of view, or one people's point of view. This is something that has to do with all of us, and it affects all of us, and it's very important that we see these things. Now, a disclaimer to this video: I don't know where all these articles come from, and I will show you a link below where you can actually find the video who put all this together. And the video is called The Anti-White Introduction of School Children, and the person's channel is called Reunation Media. Now, just because I'm sharing this, that this individual compiled, doesn't mean that I support their channel or I know extensively about their channel, but I was introduced this video and I watched it, and it was pretty disturbing to me because I want to dismiss it as some sort of conspiracy theory and say, hey, this is not the reality of things. And also, I'm not a person who's ethnically entirely white, so this doesn't really concern me, but it does concern me because still I am part white. It is still in my blood. Rather, I am part black and part First Nations of this continent. I still feel that this is very offensive. Why? Because of how it's being put together, how it's using all the nationalities that I'm part of and putting them against each other and creating such hate that I experienced personally growing up as a youth, things that where I was racially discriminated a lot. In fact, I was affected so much that I was physically abused. It affected my mental health. It affected my health, the way I viewed myself, my self-esteem. And the majority of why I was getting hurt wasn't because I was white, was because people called me Mexican or Arab. And then at the same time, I was also hurt for looking white. So depending on the neighborhood that I went, I would get beat up or get bullied. And basically, growing up, I'd have to be segregated, going to different schools because I had no proper social skills. So just so you guys can understand that this whole racial conflict is not just one person or one specific group. And in fact, there's people who, because they fit in all the profiles in different times, especially in the past that we grew up where there was a lot of racism, to admit it, but it's something that society was really working on, really trying to fix. I was something that I was proud of, to see people change that behavior, to be different. And today to see what else is being shown, a different kind of systematic racism that is not just about bringing justice or social justice, but in reality is a systematic racism that is hurting all of us. And I am going to say it flat out, and I believe that this racism that is being brought towards European ethnicity here in North America is simply to grab the farmland, to grab the private land. And to be honest, the majority of landowners in North America are people of European descent. And they have a lot of land, and these are people who are very successful, who have very deep roots in the continent, culturally, for generations. And whatever the history is, these are the people who own the land. And from what you're seeing, the way we all live, it doesn't matter what color we are, what background we are, what privilege is being said we have or don't have. The way I grew up, the way my family grew up, rather they're white, part black, or basically full-fledged First Nations of this continent, or a mixture of it, we have had to work extremely hard, migrate legally, do things the way everybody else has, pay the tax that everybody else has. And whatever tax break we've had is because our family working hard towards that, where there is no excuses. We made our way in this country, which is Canada right now, where I am seeing just next door in the United States, seeing these things, experiencing these things with my own eyes, actually coming from the media, the way they're being portrayed, the way they're being shown. And to see this from Canada and the struggles that we grew up in, and all these excuses that they're saying that this is why we're affecting these people who have these industries, these jobs. All I am seeing is a giant power shift. Our government's just simply targeting the people who have the most, shutting down industries, and from what looks like, without really trying to put in some sort of conspiracy theory or anything, it's population control, changing people's behavior, how they live, how they eat, how they breathe the air, and yes, ultimately, yes, how they live. And with that, how we live, how we do all those things that are very essential to, yes, living, because it all comes down to living. It's the way we're educated. It's the way we view things, the way in specific that our youth view things, being so young, being so vulnerable, and the kind of things that are being taught to them. Now, I suggest that you guys watch this video and watch this video with a very open mind. You know, try to view it just from outside the box without taking any sort of bias or any sort of just offense to it. But instead, just look at it for what it is, really just digest it, take it in, and learn from it as much as you can, and look at what is being taught to your children, what is being taught right now to the different ethnicities around you, and how this is not productive, this is not safe for our society. And I will say, despite of where these sources or whatever comes from, I have seen it with my own eyes, and the majority of you have seen it with your own eyes and have experienced it in one way or another. And some of these things that are happening in today's society need to happen. They're overdue. People need to recognize certain things, certain divisions in our society. But when it's like this, and they're talking about grabbing land and reforming everything, and the way right now the Biden administration, the United States, is playing the mortgage moratorium, people not paying rent and the exemption, and then suddenly cutting it off from under their feet, putting people in extreme debt and the possibility of jail, and a system that right now is completely being turned inside out from a nation that actually has a proper constitution that needs to be revisited and needs to be applied, yes, to every ethnicity in the United States. Instead, right now is being destroyed and is being turned into what is a totalitarian constitution that has nothing to do with defending races. Right now, what it's doing, it's just picking the people who they want to use for whatever reasons. And right now, the most unfortunate thing is through race, picking races. And it's not just favoring them, because if you look at it closely, everyone is getting abused by this. And where they blame white privilege and all this and that, these people who are doing this to the people that they think are guilty of something are not getting really anything in return, except for just more media. The idea that they're accepted in a society without being told, hey, we're actually going to properly distribute these resources. You know, these lands that are being taken, it's not just being taken away from everybody, it's going to be redistributed. No, it's a very dark thing. And for me to even, in this video, from what you just heard, that last sentence, saying that if they are going to do it, can you think about that? Doing that in today's society, purging people, taking stuff away from people. And at the same time, while I'm saying that, saying imagine that, look at the media. Look at the kind of stuff that your kids are playing. The video game zombies, shooting a bunch of unfortunate, weird, biologically mutated people in cities and towns that look like your old cities and towns. Well, they are your old cities and towns. What you're shooting in the form of those zombies are your people. You know, those movies with the Purge and all that stuff and Contagion and everything with the current events that are happening, if you look very closely, you're going to see very closely that they're talking about our society. And you don't have to look closer anymore. It just becomes very clear. Wow, they're indoctrinating us and getting us used to things that it's not only that we don't need, but things that are horrible, things that are horrific. And they're getting us used to this. Look what they're teaching our kids. This is dangerous. This is not cute. This is not just the inequality. This is bringing the past that people are complaining about today back, but in another way, but not in a way where people are going to benefit. But just look very closely. It's something that's going to affect all of us, the ignorance. Think about the other cultures that are watching your families or your ancestors, however you want to view it, or God. Just look very closely. You watch for yourself these behaviors and what they're leading up to.